Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today. This is the second webinar in a four-part webinar series where we'll be discussing land administration specifically focused on Latin America. Today we'll be covering parcel management with GIS. Your interest in this topic is greatly appreciated, and thanks again for being here. My name is Brandon Tortlett, and I'm the Global Business Development Manager for Land Administration here at Esri. I am on the Geospatial Authorities team. I hope you're all looking forward to the Beijing Winter Olympic Games starting tomorrow, including my favorite sport, curling. If there's any curling fans in attendance today, I'd love to hear from you. I'm joined today by my colleague Matt Woodleaf, who is a solution engineer on our team. And we're also joined by our guest presenter, Menno Turballs from GIS 4C, which is the Esri distributor for the Dutch-speaking Caribbean. We're first going to do a quick review of this webinar series and the first webinar that we've done. Then we'll look at the parcel management solution in ArcGIS at a high level and some of the business drivers. Next, we'll see the software in action when Matt presents a demonstration. Lastly, Menno will present a case study of an implementation of the Parcel Fabric in Aruba and Bonaire. Then we hope to hear from you and answer your questions, and we'll have several poll questions also. Please do send us your questions at any time during the webinar in English or Spanish using the questions pane here in GoToWebinar. Also, this webinar will be recorded and made available as a recording afterwards. If you're new to this webinar series, first of all, welcome. As I said, Matt and I are part of the Geospatial Authorities team here at Esri, and Geospatial Authorities are the focus of this webinar series. Specifically, we're reaching out to cadastral agencies and national mapping agencies in Latin America. These agencies are responsible for maintaining parcels, as well as many other information layers that are identified as fundamental data themes by the United Nations Global Geospatial Information Management Agency, or GGIM. We've been looking at the challenges faced by these authorities in Latin America. As they look to modernize their land information systems, the challenges are significant, but as we've said, GIS can help. In the first webinar, we focused on cadastral field operations. We discussed the relevant frameworks from the UN, including the Integrated Geospatial Information Framework, or IGIF, and for our topic, we discussed the framework for Effective Land Administration, or FELA. Then we discussed the Land Administration Domain Model, or LADM. Next, we reviewed fit-for-purpose approach to land administration, and Matt presented a demo of the Field Maps application. The point of all of that is to show you that with ArcGIS, you can take standards and data schemas and operationalize them by taking them to the field. Standards are only helpful if they can help us get work done. JP from Cadastra presented their Latin American projects on registration and fieldwork. And if you haven't seen this webinar, please watch the recording that can be found on the series page. In today's webinar, we'll focus on parcel management with GIS. As you see, we have two more topics on valuation and public engagement, and there may be other topics coming also. Esri's Land Administration Suite covers many areas and supports you in the entire process of collecting, managing, analyzing, and ultimately sharing with the public. So as I mentioned, the first webinar covered field operations. One way to think about today's webinar is that we have now collected our parcel data in the field and we're ready to manage it day by day. Let's start at the beginning. What exactly is a parcel fabric? It is a system of record. Instead of managing parcels as you would any other lines or polygons, it is a specialized data set intentionally built for managing parcels. It gives you multiple ways to improve the quality of your data using record-driven and quality-driven workflows. The data model shown in this graphic gives you a powerful tool that specifies that a parcel is a polygon, but it is also a sequence of lines and corner points. Parcel Fabric works across the entire Esri software system, and so users can access it in desktop software, mobile devices, and web applications. And we'll look at the benefits of this over the next few slides. Why have geospatial authorities around the world adopted Parcel Fabric? You all face similar challenges, so let's review what are those benefits to their businesses. The first is that it is easy to use and get started with. You can migrate your existing data and clean it up later. It is easy to learn as it uses the same editing tools in ArcGIS Pro as for all other editing. It comes with common tasks built in, and our training staff has many standard classes that they offer on this with many different options. So many ways to get started with it. Driver number 2, Fabric gives you lots of tools to improve the quality of your data. You have 3 different ways to check for errors. You can configure the rules and determine for your organization what is the standard of a bad parcel. And you can visualize the errors, and then you can work on those errors at your own pace. Driver number 3 is that it is fast. This is something we can all appreciate. It performs at a high level, even if your organization has many editors working on the data at the same time. It uses something called branch versioning, and that's when you are connected to a feature service, and this is discussed in the next driver. And that also tracks each editor and archives all the data. And the database can scale to large deployments with the likes of SQL and Oracle. Driver number 4, Parcel Fabric deploys using services-oriented architecture. Connecting to a feature service simply means that instead of directly connecting to the database, you're connecting to a URL. So think of it this way. If you've ever streamed music on Spotify, you're connected to a service. It's basically the same idea here. What this means practically speaking is that the parcel data is available to everyone, anytime, on any device. And you can edit that data anywhere. So you can edit from the Pro desktop software, but also web applications. Driver number 5 is automation. Every organization has editors that perform certain tasks that are repetitive and step-by-step. Parcel Fabric gives you configurable tasks, so you can set up all the steps, and the users get the right tool when they need it, with less mouse clicks. And you save time, and you can track the time that you're spending on these tasks. We also offer an API that enables you to eliminate the manual interaction as well as bring the Fabric into other clients like web applications and mobile devices. Driver number 6. Using the REST API, you can integrate the Parcel Fabric into other systems that you may have, like registry or CAMA or billing, addressing, planning, maybe permitting, other things like that. Driver number 7 is Lineage. This one is very popular. The Fabric keeps a complete record of all changes and makes the parcels defendable, which means that there is a documentation on what records created and retired each feature. Every recordation transaction results in a feature change, and you can visualize the lineage. So you can see a new parcel, but also see the 2 parcels joined to make it. So this gives you the before and after picture. Driver number 8 is 3D. Simply put, the Parcel Fabric is 3D enabled. So at any point, excuse me, if you have parcels that have heights or any way to show them in 3D, the Fabric can help you visualize that. And there are others. I don't have time to get into each one of these, but other examples would be digital submission, coordinate-based cadastra, and visualizing accuracy in data issues. And these are all very powerful. But these are the big ones that I have already touched on today. So I'm going to leave it at that. Now that you know some of those benefits, and before we dive into a demo, let's take our first poll question. All right, so for our first poll question, so our question here is, how do you currently manage your parcels? So we have a couple of choices. So do you manage it with simple features using ArcMap, or perhaps simple feature classes in ArcGIS Pro? Perhaps you're in the ArcMap Parcel Fabric, or perhaps you use other software formats like CAD, Autodesk, Bentley, maybe Hexagon, or maybe you have a paper-based method or something else entirely. So go ahead and put your responses in there. Just give it another minute here. Still getting some responses. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close this and let's take a look at the results. So as we're seeing here, most of you are managing your parcels as simple features in either ArcMap or ArcPro. It's a pretty close competition there. That's most of your responses. And about a quarter of you are currently using the previous generation Parcel Fabric and ArcMap. So that's fantastic feedback. Thank you so much. All right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and keep the presentation moving. All right, so over to you, Matt, for a demonstration.
Thanks, Brandon. That was a great lead-in. So now we know the modern cadastral agency is depended upon to be responsible for managing information about the ownership, value, and use of land. Embracing technology such as GIS can help you achieve this goal for your agency and land administration system. That's why I'm excited to show you how ArcGIS Pro and the Parcel Fabric can and should be part of your land administration system. ArcGIS Pro and the Parcel Fabric provide the environment and tools you need to manage cadastral databases, as well as tools for refining and improving the quality of the data over time. So let's start with an overview of what the Parcel Fabric is by using some parcels from Rotterdam, Europe's busiest port city. Before we get started, I want to talk about a few concepts. The first concept is records. Records are the core of the Parcel Fabric. The record is a container for your parcels and is a one-to-many relationship in that many parcels can be part of a single record. In this case, my ID is a combination of letters and numbers, but this is not required. It can be all text, it can be all numbers, or as I said, any combination. The other term I want to point out is the parcel. In this case, I simply named my parcels parcels, but they can be named anything you like that fits your model. So they can be tax, spatial unit if you're deploying the LADM. Essentially, you can use your own data model, and the Parcel Fabric will adapt to your nomenclature. So now that the terms are clear, let's see it in action. So a typical workflow for a map technician is to take these two parcels and merge them together. Now, I want you to notice that I have a new ribbon called Parcels. Pro recognizes there's a Parcel Fabric in my map and provides all the tools I need to work with parcels in these two tabs. We divide the tools into two types of workflows, record and quality driven. We'll discuss quality driven later. But on the Records tab, I can find all of my parcel editing tools, and they're all found right here in the gallery. So I'm going to use a merge operation because I know I'm going to merge two parcels together. I select merge. It automatically brings up my selection tool. So all I need to do is select the two parcels, and I'm going to go ahead and just give them the name can be a number, really can be anything that you like. put that number in there, and hit merge. Did you notice that red hash appear? So what's really exciting is what's happening behind the scenes with the Parcel Fabric. The Parcel Fabric keeps track of the legal area for all recorded transactions. It also keeps a historic layer so I know which parcels are part of that transaction. Notice that the merge has also combined the square footage of the original parcels. Now let's take a look at that transaction a little bit further. I can see that my one parcel has been combined from two historic parcels. I understand which record it came from, and I understand all the components of that parcel. The pop-up results read as the legal description of a parcel. These are attribute naming conventions that I have chosen, but they can be configured to fit your data model. If you have concerns about migrating from ArcMap, the Parcel Fabric I am working with here was created by using the Upgrade ArcMap Parcel Fabric tool that you can find in ArcGIS Pro. But if you are new to GIS or starting fresh in ArcGIS Pro, you can create your own from any polygon layer. So let me show you how to create your own Parcel Fabric from scratch. I wanted to introduce the concepts of tasks. Tasks are configurable workflows and can act as process control mechanisms to ensure consistency in results. Included in the installation of ArcGIS Pro, there are tasks that guide you through, step by step, through the process of migrating your data into the Parcel Fabric. You can migrate simple feature classes in just a few easy steps, starting with the Setup the Information Model task. This guides you through the setup of your Parcel Fabric. In the essence of time, I've already done this. So we're going to start with loading data into the Parcel Fabric. You actually start with the geoprocessing tool Append. This is the same basic editing tool, but when paired with the Parcel Fabric task, it becomes integrated directly into the step-by-step workflow. So let's add these new Rotterdam parcels to my Parcel Fabric. Select my input dataset and select my target dataset. I know that this is already configured to keep the mapping field maps the same, so I'm just going to use the field map to reconcile field differences. Using this, I can be more explicit about what information comes over from my attribution. But I'll just hit run. In a few moments, we will actually just have appended these normal polygons into the Parcel Fabric. Now, what makes the Parcel Fabric so powerful is that we can actually enable topology on it. That's what we're going to do next. With the topology rules enabled, you can append parcels anywhere in the process, and the topology rules will keep everything nice and tidy. No gaps, slivers, and overlaps, etc. So turning off that layer, we can see that I have a new set of parcels in my Parcel Fabric. If I had any additional ones, I could go ahead and run this step again, but I don't. So now onto that topology step. I'm simply going to input the Parcel Fabric and hit run. Not only does the Parcel Fabric topology make sure that everything is snapped properly, but it also allows me to run data reviewer checks later so I can understand the quality of my data. The next step is to create the parcel records using record names in an attribute field. Often, record names can be retrieved from a table in another business system, such as your land registry system, by using a join and calculating the record names into a field you added to your tax parcels, or parcels, before loading. So I'll select the parcel features and determine that my record name is going to be based on a field called name. So you may notice that the symbology doesn't quite match. Well, that's because we don't have any lines as part of the parcels. So we will go ahead next and build those parcel boundaries. So in building the parcel fabric, I'm simply going to import the parcel fabric. And I can choose an extent if I wanted to just calculate some of these. And I could also just calculate the parcel fabric on a specific record if I had it. In this case, I want to calculate all of the connection lines. So I'm just going to hit finish here. Now when it completes running, you'll see that the symbology updates. But you may notice that something is missing. That's right, the COGO measurements are missing. We have no coordinate geometry. We don't know the distance, we don't know the bearing of any of these lines. Well, luckily as part of our tools, we can use a tool called Update COGO, which will update and add the coordinate geometry to our lines. Again, this tool automatically opens the selection tool, or I can use the selection options that I have as part of my contents pane. I'm just going to select the visible ones for speed and hit update. Now I could select all the parcels in my fabric, but as you can see here, in a few seconds, I was able to update all of the geometry for my parcel fabric. Now we have a fresh parcel fabric in ArcGIS Pro, and it's ready to be edited. Another typical workflow begins with legal documents. For example, a part of the parcel has been sold and we need to create new boundaries. So to begin processing the transaction, we'll create a record. Now the record, like I said, it can be named anything you want. In this case, I'm just going to use a set of numbers. And this is going to be a parcel split, so I'm going to have new boundaries. And I can select a recorded date based on the documentation and create the parcel. Or I'm sorry, create the record. Next, I need to get some parcels into the record. To do that, I'll simply select the parcels that I want, which is this big one here. And I'm going to copy the lines to the record. It'll be the parcel type. And I'm going to keep the attributes preserved. And I want to make sure that I know exactly what I'm editing. So I'm going to show only the active record. I don't need this right now. I'll talk about that in a second. Okay, so now we need to create the new boundary lines. And that, again, is using a basic editing tool, the Create Features tool, and I'm going to use a 2-point line. I'm going to snap to this corner. Now, based on my legal description, I need to make sure the line remains parallel to this line. And to do that, I can use a keyboard shortcut. By pressing the P key, my line is constrained in parallel. So my bearing has been set, and it's going to be whatever it is based on the parallel. And I know that it's going to be 25 meters from that location. And I press enter. Next, I'll snap to the end point here and finish the drawing just by double clicking. Now, by using the P shortcut key and the enter keys, I'm able to have the coordinate geometry added to the lines that I drew. So the distance and the bearing has automatically been added because I accepted them. Now, here comes the last couple steps. So now that I have my boundary line drawn, I'm going to use something called Create Seeds. Seeds are what the parcels will grow out to be. You can see that I split my parcel into 2 pieces, and I have 2 seeds. And I'll just go ahead and build the active record. Again, you can see the parcel fabric having an impact. I can see that this one parcel has been split into two parcels, and also a new record has been added to the historic parcels. That example is pretty basic, but it does demonstrate how you can split a parcel based on supplied distance and bearing. Now, another way that we can import and create features is from CAD drawings. There are two patterns we can follow here. We could simply import the CAD lines and align them to the parcel fabric. The other pattern is to adjust our parcel fabric points to newly collected points from a GNSS receiver, thus making our parcel fabric more accurate. So I'm going to do that. These points have been collected by a surveyor in the field using a high accuracy GNSS receiver. And we want to have our parcel data reflect the location of these newly captured points. And as you can see on the map, our parcel points are not co-located with the more accurate GNSS collected locations. But not to worry, we can make that adjustment with one tool. So again, we go to the Geoprocessing tab and we search for a tool called Import Parcel Fabric Points. Now our source points are going to be those Tulip Subdivision GNSS points. And my parcel fabric is going to be my target, called Parcel Fabric. I can leave record name blank. If I wanted to calculate this for just one specific record, I could, but in this case, I want to do it for all of them. Now I'm going to use the proximity match point method. I'm going to make sure that the search is going to be wide enough. So I'm going to say at 1.5 meters, search those. Okay. And with that, I'm going to hit run. And the importing of the point should only take a few seconds. But as you noticed on the map, my parcel fabric has been adjusted to meet those new GNSS points. So I know that my parcel fabric is as accurate as those GNSS points are. Okay, so on the next step, we want to now add in, say we have a CAD drawing, and we want to include that as part of our parcel fabric. Now, we can do that following the exact same pattern as importing the feature classes. So we'll create a new record. And we'll call this just to keep track of what we're working on here, new subdivision from CAD. This will be a first registration. We can pick whatever date we want and create the record. All right, so now we have a new record, and we're going to follow that same process. So that data that collected the GNSS points was collected by the same surveyor using these subdivision polylines. So we're going to use these as our source. So I'm going to select all of the lines in here. I'm going to use that exact same tool, copy lines to, and show only the active record. Notice when I copied the lines to that record, the seeds were automatically generated. So in this case, all I need to do here is build the parcel fabric. So simply click build the active ones. With my source data, we can see that my lines have now been copied to the parcel fabric. We also want to go ahead and update our coordinate geometry. Now all of our lines have been updated. Okay, but we need to do one more thing, right? So looking at the numbers of these, they don't have any labels. So I'm going to use a tool called Sequential Numbering. The Sequential Numbering tool will allow me to number all of the parcels in a particular order. So I'm going to use my parcels based on the field name. It'll be a number format. And just for this, we'll start at number 1 and we'll increment at 1. So I'll select my line here and go through this here. Zoom in. We can see that all of my parcels have now been updated incrementally. There's 4, there's 5, etc. So we have imported a new subdivision from CAD and updated the parcel attributes following those same patterns of record, copy the lines, build the seeds, and build active. So far, we've talked a lot about the record-driven workflows, but what about the quality-driven? We know that maintaining an accurate land administration system is one of the main responsibilities of the cadastral agency. The Parcel Fabric is set up to improve the accuracy of your cadastre over time. And one of the most common methods to do this is the least squares adjustment. And the industry standard DynaAdjust algorithm is built into our tools. So I have an active record, and I want to select all the features in the record. Now I'm going to run a tool called Consistency Check. Consistency Check allows you to analyze the accuracy of your data without the need for control points. It's going to check that the measurements are consistent only within the selected lines by comparing the bearing and the distance of those given lines. It's going to run many possibilities. So while I can have a lot of lines, and this check can take a bit of time, I went ahead and I ran it in advance. So turning on the analysis group, and let's clear this. So turning on the analysis group, we can see that I have a couple symbols here. So looking at the outliers, we can look at this symbology, right? So we can understand if I want to run the adjustment, where is it going to go and what is the margin of error? So we're looking for gigantic errors here. This actually looks pretty good, so I'm not going to go ahead and apply the least squares adjustment, but I could. And that will help me improve my accuracy of my Parcel Fabric over time. So I just gave you a tour of ArcGIS Pro and the Parcel Fabric by demonstrating how it supports your common workflows. The main takeaway here is that while you do your work, behind the scenes, the Parcel Fabric is going to preserve historical records of land size and ownership to ensure that you are delivering authoritative content and giving you the tools to maintain good governance over your country's land administration system. And now I'll send it back to Brandon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Matt. So we'll go ahead and do our next poll question, our second poll question, which is this. So the question is, which of these best categorizes the status of your cadastre or land information system? Do you have complete digital land records managed in a CAD or a GIS? Do you have some CAD files that are perhaps not georeferenced? Do you have multiple parcel files from multiple sources, multiple lineages? Do you have a paper system or some sort of Mylar drawings or something else entirely? So go ahead and click on the screen there and let us know what your current situation is, if you would, please. Okay, getting some good early results here. Just a few more seconds here to get a few more responses in case anyone wants to participate. We're grateful for your responses. All right, we'll leave it there and then let's take a look at the results. So clearly the largest category is that we have multiple parcel files, multiple lineages, multiple sources, perhaps multiple dates and vintage and so forth. And then a few of you do have that complete digital land records picture. So thank you again for your interaction and your input on that question. Very good. And with that, I'm going to hand things back over to Menno.
Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining this presentation on parcel management modernization in Aruba. My name is Menno Terbals, and I work as a GIS consultant at GIS for C, which is the Esri distributor for the Dutch Caribbean islands. In my role as a consultant, I have been working directly with our client on Aruba on the Parcel Fabric solution. In this presentation, I will share with you why Cadastra Aruba chose the ArcGIS Parcel Fabric solution, how it was implemented, and what the benefits are of using Parcel Fabric. First, GIS for C, which stands for GIS for the Caribbean, operates in the Dutch Caribbean islands. As you can see in the map, Aruba, Curaçao, and Bonaire are the islands located off the coast of Venezuela. And in the northeastern part of the Caribbean, there are the islands of Ceiba, Sint Eustatius, and Sint Maarten. This presentation is on Aruba, which is a country in the Kingdom of the Netherlands. You may know it as a popular tourist destination. We can see in the photo here the hotel strip and the white sandy beaches. This may look familiar to you. To give you an idea of its scale, Aruba has approximately 111,000 inhabitants, and the island covers an area of 180 square kilometers, or 44,000 acres. The organization responsible for land administration in Aruba is DLV, or better known as Cadastra Aruba. And one of the tasks of this land registry and mapping organization is to provide up-to-date access to parcel information to its clients on the approximately 55,000 parcels that they manage. As part of their parcel management efforts, Cadastra Aruba has been using ArcGIS since 2017. Now, why did Cadastra Aruba decide to implement Parcel Fabric? There are a number of objectives that Cadastra was looking for. First, Cadastra was looking for a comprehensive parcel management system which can be accessed organization-wide. This means easy access to a system from front desk employees up to the management team and everything in between. Second, this system needs to provide access to up-to-date parcel information throughout the whole system deployment. Third objective was to have a system that provides efficient parcel editing workflows. For example, being able to directly import CAD lines to build parcels from. And another objective was to have a system that facilitates easy sharing of parcel information, meaning sharing across platforms and having parcel information available anywhere, anytime, and on any device. Also, being able to share parcel information with other organizations was considered a great asset. Sorry. So the Parcel Fabric, the services-based architecture of Parcel Fabric and also the editing capabilities in ArcGIS Pro really support these objectives. So in 2019, the choice was made to implement Parcel Fabric. How was the actual implementation done? For this, several steps were taken. First of all, the parcel data needed to be prepared. Because Cadastra Aruba had all of its parcel data stored as CAD drawings, we needed to convert the CAD data to GIS data. For this, we used a couple of geoprocessing models that converted the CAD lines to GIS parcel polygons, and the models converted the CAD annotation to GIS attributes. After running the models, the quality and the completeness of the conversion were checked by Cadastra, and if necessary, adjustments were made in the CAD drawings. The adjusted CAD data was then processed again in the geoprocessing model, and ultimately this led to a full conversion of the CAD data into good quality GIS data. And besides this, it improved the data quality in the CAD drawings by making the adjustments that were necessary in CAD. The second step was to create the parcel fabric and load the parcel polygon data in it. By using the parcel tools in ArcGIS Pro, the parcel fabric was created and then customized by creating the parcel types that Cadastra distinguishes. Also, topological errors that remained were corrected during this phase. The third step was to publish the parcel fabric into the enterprise environment and making it available as a feature service. And this, of course, opened up a lot of possibilities, such as the sharing of parcel information, creating web apps, and multi-user editing using branch versioning. Then finally, the Cadastra employees needed to be trained in using ArcGIS Pro and also the parcel fabric. For this, we provided training sessions using the Esri training materials. And as a final step here, we see that ongoing support is mentioned, and this means, for example, that we assist Cadastra Aruba in adding new parcel types or upgrading the parcel fabric to a newer version. Just to illustrate the results of this work, I want to show you a couple of slides. Here we see the conversion results, which is a complete conversion to parcel polygons. And as you can see, the parcel numbers are used as labels, and they are stored in the GIS data as attributes. And here we can see the final parcel fabric in ArcGIS Pro. And we can see the different parcel types that are distinguished by their symbology. And we can also see the parcel records that are indicated by the blue lines and the blue labels. So what are the advantages of using ArcGIS Parcel Fabric? So what are the advantages for Cadastra Aruba in using Parcel Fabric? First of all, the Parcel Fabric offers efficient parcel editing workflows, especially the ability to import cut lines directly is very useful and also time-saving for Cadastra. Second, having a multi-user editing environment which is versioned is also one of the objectives that Cadastra was looking for. Also, maintaining historic parcel data is very helpful in comparing historic situations to the new situation. And the fact that the Parcel Fabric is shared and used as a feature service makes it possible that the parcel data is current throughout the platform, but it also offers the functionality needed for the last 3 bullets here, which are availability, anytime, anywhere, and on any device. Using the Parcel Fabric in web applications, and also the ease of sharing and collaborating. What are the future plans? One thing is the ability to view mortgage information in the web app. So relating mortgage data or even integration with a mortgage database is one of the things that Cadastra is looking for. Sharing parcel information with other organizations like notary offices can be made easier and more streamlined by using the Parcel Fabric. And the third one, using inputs from other organizations, using their information or data from field observations, for example, Cadastra is able to improve or update the data quality. Before we go to a demo of the web app, I want to share you one more example of how the Parcel Fabric can be used. Or this example is actually from the island of Bonaire, where they also use the Parcel Fabric. And this is a custom task that was made. And this task creates an extraction from the cadastral plan. So if a client comes to the front desk and needs an extraction for a certain parcel, the front desk employee can use this task to create the extraction step by step. So for first to enter the parcel number, and up to the printing of the extraction is all done through this task. All right, finally, I would like to show you a short demo of the web application that is used at the front desk of Cadastra. Let me share my screen. Here we go. So this web application is used mainly at the front desk, but also in other departments of the Cadastra. And it basically is a web application to find information on parcels. What we see here, we see different parcel types indicated by the different colors, different symbology in the map. So when we look at the legend, we see all the different parcel types that have been used, that are being used by Cadastra Aruba. And if we zoom in to the map, zoom a little bit further, we see the labeling pops up, and we see also the parcel area next to the parcel name or number. And we also see the green labels or the green dots here, which are the addresses that are known in Aruba. Now, why is this important? Many times a client that comes to the front desk doesn't know the parcel number. Of course, they do know an address, so the front desk employee can type in an address, for example, Bonaire 31. And if they click on the address, the map locates the the parcel, which is related to this address. So here we can see this is the parcel with the number 4A811. Another thing which is useful in this application is that you can use other types of data. So we have seen the addresses, but if you have like imagery, then you can use that to view how the situation is in your imagery and where the parcel boundaries are located. So for the future, it would be also handy if we can see information in the pop-up on the mortgage, for example. Who is the mortgage owner? What is the value of the mortgage, etc. Okay, with that, I would like to give it back to the moderator. Thank you for attending this presentation. And
As a next step, we hope you'll join us for the third webinar in this series on Tuesday, March 22nd at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. The webinar will focus on how you can improve property valuation with GIS. So where do we go from here? To further explore Parcel Fabric, please get in touch with your distributor, and if you don't know who that is, we can help. Please fill out the survey that you'll get after the webinar closes. Let us know what you thought of it and how we can help you with more information. With that, we can also note your attendance. And for all those that attend the 4 webinars in this series, you'll receive an official certificate of completion. There's many ways to learn more. We'll be sending you a post-webinar email soon with links to resources. It will include the recording from today, as well as several sites, including how to find your distributor, the webinar series page so you can view past recordings and register for webinar number 3. You have a story map that covers why to consider moving to Parcel Fabric. And finally, we have a Parcel Fabric meetup you can join, and you can see the recordings of past meetings as well. All right, and before we take questions, we are going to do one last poll question. So this poll question is, what best describes your industry and agency? So what type of organization are you with? You can click all that apply. Are you with national government, provincial government, municipal government? Do you work in a registry or cadastre office, some sort of valuation capacity, or perhaps in a surveying or mapping office? So if you can let us know a little bit about yourselves, I think that'd be great for everyone to see who is on the webinar today. Excuse me. Okay, great, getting a lot of responses here. Okay, in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and close this poll and let's take a look at the results. So we have a mixture of everything. We have some national, we have some local government, some registry, valuation, and also a pretty equal number from a surveying and mapping capacity. So it's great to see such a range of responses and a range of participants here today. So that's great. All right, with that, we're going to take some questions and answers. And at this point, I'm going to bring in my colleagues, very much including Milkiades, who will help to facilitate with some translation. So please do send us some questions or your questions. We do have some questions that have already come in using the questions panel here in GoToWebinar. You can send us your questions in Inglés or Español, and we will translate. And we do have a couple of questions that have been submitted already. So please do send us those questions. And perhaps we can review the ones we've got that have come in already. So we had a question from Javier. Javier asked how Parcel Fabric manages roles so that not any user, so not all users, can change attributes or change the spatial data. And that is an excellent question. And so Matt responded in the chat there, but perhaps he can kind of bring up his answer as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brendan. So for a point of clarification, the Parcel Fabric does not manage access or roles. The Parcel Fabric is a container for your parcels, and the managing of roles is done either at the feature service level, if we're talking about a web application, or at the enterprise geodatabase level, if we're talking about a multi-user editing environment. So the managing of roles depends on the environment that you are working on.
Okay, great. Question from Sergio. Thank you for your question. He asked, can I see in the web environment the historic relationship? So this is when we were talking about the parcel lineage, how the parcels have changed over time. And when he was looking at Menno's web application that he was showing, his question was, can I see the historic relationship in a web application? So Matt, I'll let you answer that one.
Yes, you are able to see the historic parcels. They are a subset of the parcel feature service. So it would just be a simple case of changing the symbology to identify the historic parcels.
Very good. Also, you can certainly send us more questions. We are here, we are up on time rather, so certainly understand if anyone has to leave. Also wanted to direct your attention to the chat window in which my colleagues have pasted links for the various things that I alluded to in the previous slide, links to different resources, ways to get more information. You will have that as well in the post-webinar email that you'll receive, but if anyone wanted to look at some of those websites now, you can click on the links that are in the chat window. All right, go ahead and send other questions if you have them. And certainly if you would like, you can simply contact any of us using the email addresses that you have on the screen there, and you can send us questions afterwards. You can also contact your distributor. If you do not know who that is, we can help you with that information as well. You have Matt's email, my email, and also Menno, if you'd like to ask him any questions about their project there in Aruba. All right, well, seeing no further questions, I just wanted to thank you again for your time. Thank you for joining us today. We hope that you got something out of this presentation, and we look forward to having you at our next webinar on valuation and GIS. Thank you so much for your attendance here today. Take care.